Right now, a woman is fighting for her life after a Cobb officer shot her. It happened at police headquarters.
The GBI now taking the lead on this case, and Atlanta News First Don Shipman is live for us in Marietta. Don, what exactly led up to this shooting?
Well, we know that she wanted to talk with an officer. During that conversation, the GBI says she pulled out a gun. All of this happening right outside the police station.
Cobb Police Headquarters, a crime scene. Police cordoned off the front parking lot for hours last night. The GBI identified the woman an officer shot as 26-year-old Rebekah Patterson of Marietta. Authorities say she showed up around 4 p.m. asking to speak with an officer. The officer later met Patterson outside. The GBI says Patterson pulled out a handgun during that conversation. She pointed it at the officer. The officer gave Patterson multiple verbal commands to drop the gun, but they say she didn't. That's when the officer shot at Patterson, hitting her multiple times. We stopped by Patterson's Marietta apartment, but no answer at the front door, leaving many questions, including why did she show up at police headquarters? Why did she want to talk with an officer? And why did she pull out a gun?
And once officers inside the police station heard those shots being fired, they rushed outside. They rendered aid to Patterson. Paramedics would then eventually rush her to the hospital. I did check in with the GBI to find out how she's doing this morning. Remember, right around 10:30 last night, they released a statement saying she was in critical condition. They say that her condition has not changed. We're live here in Marietta. Don Shipman, Atlanta News First.